The Samsung Galaxy S26 Ultra is here and it comes with some big improvements over the Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra from last year, but a lot of the same too. So, is it worth the upgrade? Well, let's put these head to head with camera samples, SuperSaf style, and find out. Now let's start off with the build and design. So both of these are similar. It is definitely an incremental update. You can see that we've got these thicker rings on the S25 Ultra. On the S26 Ultra, Samsung have opted for this ambient island, which looks very similar to what we've got on the Z Fold 7. I personally do quite like the refreshed look, and the corners are also a little bit more curved to give it a unified look alongside the S26 and the S26 Plus. They're also quite similar in terms of the size and weight. The S26 Ultra is slightly wider and slightly taller, but it is around 0.3 millimeters thinner and around 4 grams lighter. Now, being completely honest, there have been times when I've picked up the S25 Ultra thinking it's the S26 Ultra and vice versa, especially when they've got a case on, so they are similar. The S26 Ultra comes in 4 colors. We've got this cobalt violet, there's also a sky blue, a black and a white. And there are 2 online exclusive colors, a pink gold as well as a silver shadow. Now, if you're thinking of picking up the S26 Ultra and you want the best deals out there, then do check out my affiliate links down in the description below. In the US, you can get up to $930 when you trade in, or if you're not trading in, then you can get up to $180 of instant Samsung credit. And $30 of that is exclusive with my link. And if you're in the UK, then you can get double the storage and up to 5% off using my special code. All of the details for that will be down in the description below. The S25 Ultra also came with 4 default colors: titanium silver blue, titanium white silver, titanium gray, as well as a titanium black. There were 3 exclusive colors on Samsung.com: a titanium pink gold, a titanium jade green, as well as a titanium jet black. Now, those colors will be pretty hard to come by now. And one of the things you probably notice with the amount of times that I said titanium is that the S25 Ultra has a titanium frame. This is no longer the case with the S26 Ultra, so that could be considered a bit of a downgrade. Samsung have now opted for an aluminium frame on the S26 Ultra. They followed Apple when they went to titanium, and then now that Apple's gone back to aluminium, so have Samsung. Now, of course, titanium is the more premium metal, but I'm not sure how much this is going to matter to you, especially if you're going to be having your smartphone in a case anyway. We've got the same IP68 rating, and we have Gorilla Armor 2 on the front on both devices. Now, as far as I can see, the anti-reflectiveness is exactly the same on both devices. And both devices have beautiful displays. Both are 6.9 inches with dynamic AMOLED 2X technology. They've got an adaptive refresh rate 1 to 120 Hz, and we've got a peak brightness of 2600 nits. But the S26 Ultra has a brand new feature that we've not seen on any other smartphone before. It's the world's first, and that is privacy display. Now, this can work just like a privacy screen protector, where it limits the angle of view, so people looking over your shoulder are not going to be able to see your screen. But unlike regular privacy screen protectors, because this works on a pixel level, it can be customized. So you can switch it on and off as you please, or you can have it switch on automatically for particular apps, such as your banking apps, messages, for example. You can have it come on when you're entering pins or passwords. And you can also have it just apply to your notification pop-ups, so people can't see who's messaging you. Now, honestly speaking, this is very impressive and it works really well in my experience. The only thing I would say is that it does lower the brightness and resolution of the display when you have this on. Now, this is understandable because the way this works is by switching off the wider pixels and keeping the narrow pixels on. But now, my personal recommendation would be not to keep this on fully, just to keep it on for notifications and particular apps. I mean, if the resolution and brightness lower slightly when I'm in my banking app, I really don't care, and I'm sure most people won't either. Now, moving on, we have the same Gen 2 Qualcomm 3D Sonic sensor. This works really well on the S25 Ultra, and it also works really well on the S26 Ultra. Now let's move on to the cameras and look at some samples. Before we do, just a quick reminder, if you're enjoying this video so far and you want to see more like it, then do consider subscribing and hitting that bell icon if you haven't already. Right, now when it comes to the hardware, things are quite similar, but we have 2 changes. The primary camera and the 5x telephoto camera both have a wider aperture, we've got an f1.4 aperture on the primary camera from f1.7. And on the 5x zoom camera, we have an f2.9 aperture from 3.4 that we had on the S25 Ultra. Now, what does that mean in actual usage? Well, in good light, both devices take really good photos. The one thing that I did notice straight away was that the S26 Ultra had brighter images with a better dynamic range. This was pretty consistent. And from the primary cameras in low light, the S26 Ultra, in my experience, also produced sharper images with less noise overall. You can see here in this indoor example, although the S25 Ultra looks a little bit brighter at first glance, when you do zoom in, you can see that the S26 Ultra is sharper with less noise. In this example, things were close, but I did find that the S25 Ultra was sharper on the slabs on the ground. With the S26 Ultra, I'm not sure if that super wide aperture is also giving quite a shallow depth of field, so it's keeping the subject in focus, but the foreground is starting to fall off focus. Maybe that's the reason why. With the telephoto camera, things were very close in good light, but in low light, you can clearly see that you've got sharper and cleaner images on the S26 Ultra, especially in this example. This is a very big difference in low light for the telephoto camera. You can see the YouTube logo a lot more clearly, and there is so much less noise. Even with the ultra-wide camera, even though there isn't a hardware difference, I believe because of the new image signal processor, especially in low light. Look at this example, the S26 Ultra performing much better than the S25 Ultra. Now, no doubt there will be more updates on the S26 Ultra, which will improve the cameras further. You've also got the ability to shoot at 24 megapixels via the Camera Assistant app. This is something that you have to download in the settings or via the Galaxy Store. This is something that's not available on the S25 Ultra. And for video as well, I found that the S26 Ultra had better dynamic range, and although both devices can shoot in log, on the S26 Ultra, you have a new feature called LUT Preview. This is great to help you visualize what your footage is gonna look like once you have applied some grading to it. We've also got a new video format on the S26 Ultra, APV video, and this is gonna give you almost lossless quality even after editing your videos multiple times. And the huge APV video files will mean that you're gonna need lots of storage. And with the S26 Ultra, you can save to external storage. One brand new feature that I've not seen on any other smartphone before is horizontal lock on the S26 Ultra. And this gives you some crazy stabilization, and it's going to be ideal if you're somebody that doesn't have steady hands, or you're going to be passing your camera over to somebody that doesn't have steady hands. And you must have seen lots of examples of people literally turning the S26 Ultra 360 and it's still maintaining the frame. And lastly, portrait video has also been improved. Now on the S26 Ultra, after you've taken a portrait video, you can change the point of focus, and you can also change the amount of blur in the background. This is something that we've seen on the iPhones for a few years, but it's new here on the S26 Ultra. So although the S25 Ultra does have all-round good cameras for photos and videos, we do have quite a few improvements, I would say, on the S26 Ultra. Now, moving on to performance. So on the S25 Ultra, we've got the Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Elite for Galaxy. On the S26 Ultra, we have the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 for Galaxy. Qualcomm really need to work on their naming. We also have up to 16 gigabytes of RAM on the S26 Ultra if you buy the 1 terabyte version. The 256 and the 512 gigabyte versions still have 12 gigabytes of RAM. And the S26 Ultra also has an expanded vapor chamber with thermal interface material, and this dissipates over 21% more heat compared to the S25 Ultra. Now, in terms of your day-to-day, honestly speaking, the S25 Ultra is still a champ and it still holds up. But of course, the S26 Ultra having the flagship chipset is going to give you a better overall performance, especially sustained performance. Now, I myself am not a gamer by any means, but my friend Thunder E from Board at Work is, and he has done a detailed gaming test of the S26 Ultra. I'll leave that video linked down in the description below if you're interested. Now for the software. So both devices have Android 16. The S26 Ultra, at the time of this video, has One UI 8.5. The S25 Ultra has One UI 8. Now, yes, if you're part of the beta program, you might already have the beta version of 8.5 on your S25 Ultra, but I'm just talking about generally. And Samsung has promised 7 generations of Android OS updates on both devices. However, Considering that the S25 Ultra is now a year old and it started with Android 15 and One UI 7, we've lost one of those generations, so you're gonna get 6 generations of Android OS updates on the S25 Ultra now, which is still really, really good. And then we have Galaxy AI. Now, we do have some brand new features on the S26 Ultra, which may or may not come on the S25 Ultra, but nevertheless, let's go over them. So with Call Assist, you now have call screening on the S26 Ultra. This is something that we don't have on the S25 Ultra. Maybe it'll come. Photo Assist has now also been improved. So as well as removing people from the background and things like that, you can now give some prompts to edit your images, like changing the color of your jacket, for example. You can also combine images together and it's gonna try to put those together. Sometimes this can work well, sometimes not so much. You also have new styles for images such as fisheye. And we've got a whole new section called Creative Studio. This is going to be useful for using your images to create things like custom invites. Audio Eraser has been improved. You can now use Audio Eraser not just for videos that you've recorded, but also for anything that's on screen pretty much. So it works within YouTube. And if maybe you're watching some sports or a live stream which has a lot of background noise or music, and you really just want to hear what the person is saying, you can quickly activate this and it seems to work really well. We've got Now Nudge, which is going to give you actions based on what's on your screen. So for example, if you're in messages and somebody asks you, hey, are you free on Friday evening? It's going to be able to check your calendar and see if you actually are. We've got notification highlights. This is something that we have seen on Apple before. And now we have Perplexity, which is integrated, and you can actually use it as your default AI assistant. I'd assume Perplexity at least will be coming to the S25 Ultra with an update. So overall, lots of new AI improvements on the S26 Ultra versus the S25 Ultra. Now, how long are these going to be for free? This is still a question mark. Apparently, they were only supposed to be free until the end of 2025, but we're in 2026, and they're still working on all my Samsung devices. So I guess Samsung's going to carry on supporting these up until whenever. Now, both devices do have the S Pen, and as far as I can see, they work pretty much exactly the same. The S26 Ultra's S Pen is a little bit more compact. It also has a curved top to kind of fit those rounded corners, but it still can fit in either way. It's just going to be a little bit odd if you put it in the wrong way around. And no, neither of the S Pens have Bluetooth built in. If you want Bluetooth on your S Pen to use it as a remote trigger or something, then you're still gonna have to get the S24 Ultra. Now, I'm not sure I'm gonna get enough time to do a detailed comparison of the S24 Ultra versus the S26 Ultra, but if there is enough demand, I'll see what I can do next week. We've got stereo speakers on both, and to me, they both sound very good. I am not an audiophile. Once again, my buddy Thunder E from Board at Work is, and he has done a detailed speaker test and included both of these devices. You can go ahead and check out his video. He actually thought the S25 Ultra speakers were a little bit more robust, so whatever that means. We've got Wi-Fi 7 on both devices. The S25 Ultra, however, has Bluetooth 5.4. We've got Bluetooth 6.0 on the S26 Ultra. Now, having Bluetooth 6.0 on the S26 Ultra is going to mean faster data transfer rates, extended range, and it's also going to be more power efficient. And that's going to be important because of the battery life. So, in terms of battery size, both of these have the exact same size battery, 5,000 milliamps. Now, this is something that I was really hoping for. I was hoping Samsung is going to include a larger battery on the S26 Ultra. Maybe they'll use silicon carbon, but this is not the case. Now, even though we've got the same size batteries, and even though Samsung on their official website tells you that we're going to get the same battery life on both devices, at least when it comes to video playback, I would say that the S26 Ultra will give you slightly better battery life compared to the S25 Ultra, and that is thanks to the more efficient chipset. How much more? Maybe about 5 to 10% more, nothing significant, but still, you will get better battery life on the S26 Ultra versus the S25 Ultra. You've also got faster charging supported on the S26 Ultra, 60 watts versus 45 watts wired, and 25 watts wireless versus 15 watts wireless on the S25 Ultra. Both of these devices do support wireless power share, and with the S26 Ultra, it supports Qi 2.2, but with enabled cases. You don't have magnets built in like you didn't have on the S25 Ultra. So if you do want to use MagSafe, then you are going to have to get compatible cases for both devices. And finally, for the price. So the S26 Ultra in the US starts at the same price as the S25 Ultra did, $1,300. But for every other version and in the UK, the price has increased. Now, granted, There are lots of things happening in the world right now, and I know RAM and storage have gone very expensive, but that is the case. The S26 Ultra is coming in higher. Now, if it makes things any better, then you can use my affiliate links down in the description below to get some money off. In the UK, you can get double the storage and you can get 5% off using my code. In the US, although you don't get the double storage offer anymore, you can get up to $930 if you trade in a device. And if you don't want to trade in a device, then you can get up to $180 in instant Samsung credit. $30 of that is exclusive with my link. The S25 Ultra, because it's been out for about a year now, looking around, you can get some better deals on this. I've seen it for around £900 in the UK on Amazon for a renewed version. But in your particular region, you might be able to get some better deals or even get a second-hand version for a lot cheaper. Now, to answer the question, should you upgrade? Well, honestly speaking, if you've got the S25 Ultra, there is really no need to upgrade. It's still an excellent device, and it was one of my top 5 smartphones of 2025. And I think it's gonna last you at least another couple of years, maybe more. But with the S26 Ultra, although you are losing the titanium, you are getting a better display with that brand new privacy display feature. You've got improved cameras for photos and videos. You've got the new processor with the new Galaxy AI features. You've got better overall battery life with faster charging. And in the US anyway, if you've got the S25 Ultra and you trade it in, then you can get $930 off, which means the S26 Ultra will work out just around $370 with your trade-in, which in my opinion is a very good deal. So if you can take advantage of one of those pre-order deals, then it may be worth upgrading to the S26 Ultra depending on your situation. That's what I think anyway. What do you guys think? Drop me a comment below, let me know your thoughts. If you want to see how the S26 Ultra's cameras stack up against the competition, I have done a detailed SuperSaf style camera comparison versus the iPhone 17 Pro Max. That video is going to be linked here, as well as another S26 video linked here. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it useful. If you did, then do smash that like button for me. And if you haven't already, then do consider subscribing and hit that bell icon. Thanks for watching. This is Saf on SuperSaf TV. I'll see you next time.